Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. Now, don't be fooled, I'm really not Paul from the Victor Dealer Group, but I did buy 12 shirts on eBay. They figured out to be $3 a piece. These are Cintas uniform company shirts. They fit really well. They're all broken in and comfortable. I could take the tags off, but I'll probably just wear them around the shop and not worry about it. So if you're Paul from the Victor Dealer Group, and judging by some of the names, I'm going to guess these shirts maybe came from Southern California. So I may surprise you with different names along the way. Who knows? Big deal, right? So today, let's go back. A week ago Friday, I boldly promised that I would have this room cleaned out so I can move some vehicles around because I need the lift to do a bunch of work. The 56 wagon was on the lift. Underneath it was a 40-something Willys pickup that's not mine. I'm just going to mount the engine and transmission in it for a friend of mine, and the front axle and the rear axle, and a bunch of stuff. So, in order to accomplish that, fortunately, I scored that 24-foot Pace trailer, and I've neatly put all my transmission cores, 2 truck cabs, just some big stuff that was taking up a lot of room. I during the whole process, couldn't quite bring myself to put my newly acquired, within the last year, more sheet metal equipment. This room features a lot of sheet metal equipment. I could go around and show you all of it, but I like at least the concept of working with sheet metal. For the amount of equipment I have and space dedicated to it, I bought a lot of stuff from a sheet metal shop. I don't do that much of it. I just want to do some floorboards and patches now and then, but I just like machines that manipulate metal, and I can't stop myself from buying one of everything over the course of 20, 30 years now. When I actually did my first aluminum interior in my race car, I had really impressed myself when I bought the pack of 3 tin snips, left, right, and straight, and I pretty much only use the straight. My left and right are still like new. I bought them off the Snap-on truck. That, a chop saw, and a Sawzall. It's pretty much what I had. So that's that. I'll someday employ all these cool machines. And I do on occasion, making small brackets and stuff. So I'd like to have a dedicated area that's all fabrication, but you got to dream, right? I should be satisfied with what I have for now, and I am. So as promised, a week ago Friday, I boldly stated I would accomplish that. It rained. In the next 7 days, it probably rained 5, which kind of put a hamper on it, but I did manage 2 long days of moving stuff. And managed to get the 56 over here. It clears literally I can move this towel. I just didn't want to scratch the taillight. And the door's shut. But I wouldn't say it's ideal, but at least, and I just love this thing. I can't wait to get on the road. I joke with my wife that I'm the 50s housewife. For instance, we're at a soccer game for my son last Saturday. I'm sitting there clipping coupons, and she's watching the game and shouting. That's the roles we have. But back in the shop, at least I get to, be the boss. So my point, I just rewatched some of the video clip I just shot, and I may not have made my point, and that happens a lot. You already know that. I'm just discovering it. I didn't want to put these nice machines new to me within the last year outside in the trailer for fear they might rust. They probably wouldn't, but I'm not willing to take that chance. They're under my watch now. They're probably early 70s vintage, and they're in really nice shape, and I don't want to discover one day that they're rusty. It's a great weight. There's a lot of stuff around here I don't want destroyed, and keeping it, every piece I drag home like a lost puppy, I got to care and feed for it for the rest of its life, and it's a lot of that stuff. So I spend a lot of my time going around, make sure things aren't being destroyed by mice or rusting or whatnot. So the short answer would be have less junk. But that's probably not going to happen. So, also, while watching the video clip, I realized these shirts are pretty wrinkly. It was a pack of 12 stuffed into like a medium flat rate box. So when I cut her open, she popped up and they sprang loose. So a little disappointed. I mean, at $3 a shirt, you can't complain too much, but 2 of the shirts were women's shirts with the buttons on the opposite side. And that's just confusing. So those might become rags, but hey, it is what it is, as they say. Changing the subject, let's talk about transmissions for a second. There's a few excellent videos floating around on Facebook and YouTube, probably Instagram, I don't know, of 4L80E and a Turbo 400, 2 separate incidences where the transmission exploded. I think they were both on dynos. They were both on dynos. And both occurred because the input shaft stopped turning. In a Turbo 400 or a 4L80E, when the input shaft stops turning, whether the engine quit or you put it in neutral, it overspeeds the direct drum like 2.5 times. It's, first gear going the wrong direction. The drive shaft is now driving the transmission instead of the engine driving the transmission. And it overspeeds and blows up in a Turbo 400 or a 4L80E. So Ryan Jans, if you look him up, or Jake from Jake's Performance, have done 2 separate videos. Just happened to come out, and a lot of people are pointing you to their way. If you can watch these excellent videos, they took the whole lower unit and chucked it up in the lathe and spun it and showed you what happened when you stop certain components, especially when you stop the forward drum. When that happens, bad things happen. And that'll happen when you shut the engine off. Like I say, if you went through the top end, put it in neutral, shut the engine off. On a steel drum, the critical speed's around 8,000 before it explodes, give or take. And I think an aluminum drum's probably 18 to 19,000 RPM. But either way, you can reach that pretty easily if you're multiplying drive shaft RPM times 2.5-ish. So watch the videos. You'll learn a lot. And in all cases, which I don't know why this message doesn't get out, you got to either have an SFI case that's explosion proof, that's why you have an SFI rated case, or a transmission shield, or a blanket. The good old blanket will still protect you. But, safety or any money spent beyond the Bellhausen, as you know, is probably, I don't know if that will ever cure itself. People want to play the ostrich and put their head in the sand, but just go watch the videos. Excellent demonstrations. I think the 4L80E went all the way up through the windshield, through the truck. It was in a truck. And the car that was in the dyno with the Turbo 400, the dyno operator was, casting some shade on whoever built the transmission when I guess there must have been an in-car video where he neutraled it with the dyno still driving the tires, and that's when it went kabanga. Out here in the shop, it's still a horrific mess, but believe it or not, it's better. There's less underfoot, except for those 2 transmissions that showed up yesterday. I get this tied to the lift because the weight is not balanced. This is the Willys pickup. It's quite the wreck. A lot of the engineering on some of these projects leaves a little bit to be desired. Hopefully I move that up at least 1 step. I'll do my best, but hey, I can actually see the Novas now. We got, the motorcycle, this is not its permanent home. I need to pick up my engine assembly area over here. I think I'm going to put the bike lift over here for the winter so I can work on it. Maybe, I don't know. Some spot where it's not in the way too much. I still got a lot of stuff to still address, but the last day I was moving everything, it started raining, so I had to start stuffing stuff back inside. Outside for a minute, and every time I start filming outside, the wind picks up, so I apologize for the wind noise because I don't have any fancy microphones. But the beautiful old Dodge, which I think I washed it once, but I don't remember when that was. Every year, more clear coat comes off and it turns pinker. It just gets prettier, but it always bothered me that the passenger side wiper wasn't flat with the other one, with the driver's side. and I tried to adjust it by bending it, and I broke it. And a while ago, one of the window cranks was missing the little round wheel, so sometimes you got to spend $30-40 on miscellaneous stuff, but it makes a big difference in the long run. And this arm is actually adjustable with that screw right there, so you can make it work. Now, the wiper arms were black at one point, but the driver's side had pretty much turned silver, so I bought a silver one. It's close enough. Again, that's what I love about this thing. Just drive it. Inside the Dodge, this Ultra Gauge is the brand, is what gives me, I think it's 9 pages of information. And you can customize what your main page is. So this is my fuel gauge. You just tell it how many gallons in the tank and it calculates how much fuel has been used, and it's very accurate. It's my speedometer and my diagnostics. I get an occasional PO, I think it's 332. I think it's my NOx sensors. And someday I'll get my buddy back over here with his HP tuners, and we'll just turn off that warning light because I'm not using them anyway, I don't believe, so I think we have all that shut off. But it's kind of handy. You can do all that while you're driving. If the light comes on, you can, check and clear the code. I used a Hurst line lock button. That red one right there next to the heater control is my check engine light. When it comes on, it lights up the whole cab. When I did this truck, I had a bunch of old wiring and gauges, and I took it all out, the tachometer, a bunch of other stuff. I tried to fix all this, the small stuff, so it's, fun to drive, because that stuff will drive you nuts otherwise. At least it will me. I don't mind that the paint is peeling and everything else, but it's the mechanical stuff, like new window cranks. Makes a big difference. And I had my son put them on. We got an allen head in the middle, so he had to learn some stuff. He's the one that originally broke the other side. It was probably going to fail anyway, but he felt responsible and kept asking me when I was going to buy another one. And then he was proud to put them on by himself. And finally, I think I told the story after he bought the houseboat. A few weeks later, the same lady that owned the houseboat had a deck boat. Looks like a pontoon, but it has a V hull. And she always kept it at the marina. Been looking for a trailer because I kind of wanted to bring that home and do some work to it. And I'd given up for this year. I was probably going to leave it at the marina for the winter. And my brother-in-law called and said, "Hey, I got a spare boat trailer. Should be perfect." And I was looking for a 24-foot and up bunk style trailer because the V hull on it isn't very pronounced. So I don't think a roller trailer would work very well. And yeah, went and got this yesterday. So that worked out sometimes. And when my crazy brother-in-law calls, you got to answer because he doesn't call very often. When he calls, he has a purpose. He's crazy in a good way. One of the best mechanics I've ever met. And again, I apologize for the wind noise. It happens every time I try to video outside. I'm sure there's, much better equipment to make these videos. Maybe someday we'll get there. But back to my crazy brother-in-law for a minute. Again, crazy is a term of endearment. And while he may be nuts, he's nutty in a good way. And talented. He's one of the best mechanics I've ever known. He can do anything, understand everything. And you put him under pressure, he only gets better. And he doesn't get sloppy. I mean, if you had to have an engine assembled and in a truck at 2 o'clock this afternoon, it would look like it was never worked on. It would look like it came from the factory. Every nut, bolt, fastener would be correct, in the right spot, tucked in, maybe even better than it came from the factory. He does not get messy. He's definitely inspiring, and that goes. And I've never seen anybody that can, for instance, back up a trailer like this guy can. You put a dump truck in a low bed, he'll put it in high range, and if he has to back up a camp road a couple miles, right on the hammer. Try that sometime. He can do it while having a conversation and probably eating his lunch. He already had all those skills, and I haven't ridden with him since he spent maybe a decade moving trailers, mobile homes, and park model trailers and stuff like that, and setting them in campgrounds. So he's probably gotten even better. I'm lucky in my life to, my entire family is very talented. I'm the dumb one, let's face it, I'm the youngest. The rest of my family is really, really something. Everyone, even my brother-in-laws, my blood family, each one to a T have skills, and they're not lazy. They're out doing stuff all the time, so it's inspiring. I was blessed to be in this position and learn from everybody. So I'm not sure most of my family even watches my videos, but if they do, thank you. And thank you guys for watching. You're all family. We're all family. And I'll catch you in a couple days.